Shall we close up things with the trial of the Chicago 7 then?
In 1968, the US's Democratic National Convention was taking place in Chicago, and a number of protests were planned against the expected nomination of Hubert Humphrey for presidential candidate, a man vilified by anti-war protesters as being a Vietnam War apologist. Permission to protest was roundly denied by authorities, but protests happened anyway, in the way that protests will, with some ending in violence and conflict with the Chicago Police Department, and no small number of injuries. The film suggests, and as I don't recall ever having heard of this case before this film, I'm learning all I know about the trial of the Chicago 7 from the trial of the Chicago 7, so please bear that in mind. The film suggests that the newly appointed US Attorney General wants to have a political trial and instructs hotshot federal prosecutor Richard Schultz, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, to mount a conspiracy case against a selection of notable protest leaders, among whom are Sacha Baron Cohen's Abby Hoffman, Eddie Redmayne's Tom Hayden, and John Carroll Lynch's David Dellinger. Charged alongside them, and for seemingly no reason except, the glaringly obvious one, is also Black Panther leader Bobby Seale, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. With the help of Mark Rylance's lead defence attorney William Kunstler, who, before watching this film, I had only ever heard of when a certain Mr. Jay Lebowski of Los Angeles informed the fascist police chief of Malibu that, "I want a f***ing lawyer, man. I want Bill Kunstler, man," or Ron Kuby, but was apparently quite the big deal. The defendants must fight the government's case, massively hamstrung by Frank Langella's comically awful, prejudiced and willfully ignorant and or actually mentally unsound judge. Every time he spoke, I heard in my head Graham Chapman telling John Cleese's Black Knight, "You're a loon, eh?" The Trial of the Chicago 7 is written and directed by Aaron Sorkin, and The Trial of the Chicago 7 is very much an Aaron Sorkin film. And that means Aaron Sorkin dialogue. And I'm a big fan of Aaron Sorkin's dialogue. It's witty, intelligent, often scintillating, and usually entertaining. It's one of the primary reasons that I found The Trial of the Chicago 7 so compelling. It is, though, too often too perfect. And that's a problem here, if a minor one. Appealing as it is to believe that these heroes of the right to protest could be so urbane, eloquent, or simply so smart-arsed all of the time, it all feels a little too polished, particularly for something as chaotic as anti-war demonstrations. A bigger issue with the film, though, is that it expends so much energy excoriating Frank Langella's Judge Hoffman, rightly so, as he was clearly incompetent, something attested to by a survey at one point in which 78% of Chicago attorneys who appeared before him having a hugely negative opinion, and paying little more than lip service to the true villains of the piece, US Attorney General John N. Mitchell and a Mr. R.M. Nixon, then of Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's prosecutor is also rather let off the hook, something perhaps exacerbated by Gordon-Levitt being such a likeable presence. But beyond my earlier concern of not knowing how accurate it is, due to lack of familiarity with the history, I have little negative to say. It's funny, smart and very well acted. Sacha Baron Cohen being a surprising standout, with his dubious accent more than compensated for by lively performance, though I could have done with much more Michael Keaton. But I am left with a sense that Sorkin, a clear lover of the law and the idea that impassioned, righteous rhetoric can save the day, witness particularly the climax of A Few Good Men, is disappointed that he couldn't write the film in that way due to that not being how it actually happened, with 5 of the 8 men put on trial being found guilty at the time of incitement to riot. A disappointing ending, perhaps, but a fun, albeit enraging, and in many ways timely ride.
I, like you, normally like Aaron Sorkin's work, and this is the first time in a long time that I've watched the film and been so annoyed by it that I stopped watching it. When I first tried it a couple of weeks back, I sort of picked it back up again, rewatched it the other day just to get the full experience of it. But if Aaron Sorkin has a problem, it's that Aaron Sorkin wants to write films like Aaron Sorkin does. And basically anytime that politics is getting remotely involved, what he wants to write is not a wide spectrum of characters. He wants every character to speak like Aaron Sorkin is talking directly to you. And this film feels like, 2 hours of Aaron Sorkin monologuing at you. And so if you're in the mood for that, it's actually quite fun. He's good at writing dialogue, and he's as you say, everything, it's all sharp, witty, moves along at a fair old clip, and a lot of that can make it quite enjoyable. It is, however, in the wider context of this being based loosely on an actual trial with actual people on it, absolute nonsense. You have things like an anarchist saying, I believe, something like this is Sacha Cohen's character, him again, saying, I think the instruments of the state are a good thing. It's just being held by incompetent people, or something along those lines. Like, those are not words that anarchists would say because of anarchism. It is directly opposite to that. So again, it's just author insert all the way throughout it. It's author insert all the way down. And if you can get past that, which I struggled with the first time, I did a bit better second time round. I was in a slightly better mood, I think. It is witty and entertaining, and all the things that Drew was just saying there, yes. But yeah, don't go in expecting anything like reality, but if you just want an Aaron Sorkin film, then this is very much an Aaron Sorkin film, and I don't think it will turn on anyone to his style that is not already on board with that. Yes, it's hard to say a great deal more than that. If you're in the mood for this kind of thing, then it'll go down quite easily enough. But yes, it is very much Aaron Sorkin moulding the facts of the event to try and fit his narrative rather than anything even remotely sensibly based on the events it purports to cover. So, yeah.
I see your tolerances, Scott, and I raise you Eddie Redmayne. I see your I started watching this and then decided to stop watching it, and I raise you I hovered my TV remote over the preview on Netflix. Eddie Redmayne started to talk, and I said, off and watched something else instead. Can't be doing with it. I am passingly familiar with the case of the Chicago 7, and even from the preview of this title and everything I read about it, sort of I knew it was mostly bull. And I have no interest in it whatsoever, largely because of Eddie Redmayne, but also because of historical inaccuracy. So there you go.
Eddie Redmayne's actually the real weak point in the cast, I think.
Is he?
He's really not great.
Colour me surprised. Eddie Redmayne is the most superfluous actor on the face of the planet. I don't know what Eddie Redmayne is or does, or what the case for him is. He's the new Julia Roberts for me. Sorry.
He's quite affectless through much of it. So yeah, he's not bringing a lot of drive, but Mark Rylance I found really entertaining. I thought Sacha Baron Cohen was great.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's an element of ignorance is bliss here, because I've never heard of this story at all.
Had you not?
No, never. And I have deliberately not sought out further information since. Yes. Because I have a feeling that it might just ring all of my bull detectors, and I'm like, I really enjoyed that film, that'll do me.
It's weird what's been changed. I mean, things like, towards the end of it, there's the character that winds up getting bound and gagged and sitting there, and it's
Bobby Seale, yeah.
It's a very shocking event, and it seems like that happens, and the case immediately goes off the rails and stops. But he was like that for days, which, if anything, you would think would make it a more powerful statement. It's weird.
It's just an inhuman way to treat somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you take anything away from this, like further reading, just read anything about Bobby Seale, basically.
Yeah, I know about Bobby Seale. Well, some of them managed to skip over his involvement in this. I'm not going that deep into my guess, but yeah, it's weird because that's resolved within minutes of him being brought back out, bound and gagged. But that's a strange move to make, because that makes your case for how bad these people were worse. Yeah. But so you undercut it with that. But like I said, I've not looked up anymore because there's enough history in the rest of the world. I don't really want to know any more US history. So I'm quite happy to remain ignorant. Thank you very much.
To that point of why they wouldn't play that up so much, though, I think Scott has already answered that question, Drew, is that for every moment that Bobby Seale is bound and gagged, Bobby Seale is not speaking Aaron Sorkin's dialogue.
Yeah, well, there's the thing, though. Bobby Seale basically doesn't speak in the film at all, other than to say, I've demanded him a lawyer, and he's not getting it. He's like, so the character isn't actually given much dialogue at all anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a nice theory, but actually the facts don't support it, Craig, unfortunately, in this particular case.
Oh dear.